A leaf from the east bears a deep-rooted vein stretching for thousands of miles. Tea links China, Mongolia, and Russia, tracing a brilliant river of stars through the tides of history. Narantuya, cultural counselor of the Mongolian embassy in China, is in Tianjin to visit an academic named Xiao Yuqiu and learn a story about tea.
茶叶不仅是饮品，还包含着中国很悠久历史的茶文化。
Tea flourished during the Tang and reached its peak in the Song dynasty, with doucha or tea competitions becoming increasingly popular. This hare's fur tea bowl in Tianjin Museum features a wide mouth, thick body and deep glaze, ideal for appreciating the color of tea. This popular style was traded along the ancient tea horse road. Created using special kiln firing techniques, the design fans out from the center like strands of hair, just as tea culture branched out and spread from the Central Plains. 300 years ago, the aroma of tea filled the Mongolian plateau. A tea road stretching north and south quietly took shape.
这个万里茶道经过库伦，然后再到这个恰克图，它既是一条重要的国际商贸通道，也是文明互鉴的一个重要的纽带。
In the 17th century, tea caravans set out from Wuyi Mountains in Fujian, traveling north along the Hanshui River. They crossed the Taihang Mountains, passed through the Zhangjiakou Gateway, and made their way across the vast Gobi Desert and grasslands, finally arriving at the border trade town of Kyakhta. From there, the journey extended to Moscow and St. Petersburg. This 13,000-kilometer tea route became a thoroughfare between Europe and Asia. Mongolia is a country on horseback. This magnificent statue of Genghis Khan stands on the vast grasslands. He gazes towards the capital, Ulaanbaatar. The National History Museum of Mongolia in Ulaanbaatar houses over 100 cultural relics related to the Great Tea Route. The most notable item is this 200-year-old dark tea brick. The character Chuan on the surface of the tea brick tells the story of its origin. In the reign of Emperor Qianlong in the Qing dynasty, merchants from Shanxi opened the Da Yu Chuan tea shop in Yanglodong, a town in Chibi, Hubei. Dark tea bricks exported from here were often engraved with this mark. Over time, it became treasured across the grasslands.
Тэгээд голцоо шар цайг төлбөрт хэрэгжилж ирсэн. Жишээлбэл нэг хонь бол 3 шар цагаар худалдах жишээ нь. Нэг дотороо бол одоо нэг адууны ширийг нэг юм уу 2 шар цагаар худалдах жишээ нь.
Caravans of Shanxi merchants traveled thousands of kilometers, delivering 400,000 boxes of brick tea to the grasslands every year. Even in the sparsely populated Gobi, traditional Mongolian milk tea found its way into daily life. The Otgonchimeg family have been herders for generations. Each morning, a large pot of milk tea is made.
Аяганда дүүрэн аялаж тухайн үе жаавд одоо хөндлөөд хоёр гараа байна те ингэж одоо хөндлөлийн
tea culture spread across the grasslands. 4 large towns, mainly for tea trade, were gradually formed. The most prosperous of them was Maimaicheng, now Altenbulag, on the border with Russia. This miracle city in the desert made its mark before being destroyed by war in the 20th century. Bayabatar is the former director of the Museum of Selenge province in Mongolia. He took part in the archaeological excavation of Maimaicheng ruins 40 years ago with his student Naranchimeg.
Дандаа одоо нэг цайны худалдаачдын одоо өөртөөх нь бүс одоо энэ тэр тухайн үед бодож ирсэн бодлого нь ингээд
энэ хараа ингээд бодлого нь энэ чигээр энэ олон бороо ус ядаа гэхэд энэ бодлого бас гүцэд
20 гаруй жил 30 жил шиг одоо энэ
3 centuries ago, after the signing of the Treaty of Kyakhta, 2 trading towns, Maimaicheng and Kyakhta, rapidly grew in this desert. Facing each other across the border, they accounted for roughly 1/5 of China's total import and export value at that time.
ерөнхийдөө ерөөсө гол гудамжтай тэг гол гудамж 8 арилжаа хийсэн одоо энэ хятад Монгол юм олон хүмүүс ингээд орж гарсан тодорхой хэмжээний одоо суурин одоо 8 арилжаа хийдэг хүмүүсээс гадна манай одоо Монгол хороол тусдаа тэгээд одоо гадаадын бас юунаас гадна одоо тийм даан үндэстэн бас.
In 2024, China, Mongolia and Russia jointly applied for the Great Tea Route to be inscribed as a World Cultural Heritage Site. Naranchimeg, the museum's new director, has been reorganizing the exhibition. The teaware collected from the ruins includes samovars from Russia and short-spout copper teapots used by Mongolians for milk tea. There are also traditional Chinese porcelain tea sets. On the base of some Chinese items, inscriptions reveal they were made during the reign of Emperor Jia Qing of the Qing dynasty. Painted enamel teapots popular in the Qing dynasty further confirms the period of prosperity of Maimaicheng. Development of China's maritime transportation ushered in a new stop on the Great Tea Route. At China's National Maritime Museum in Tianjin, a set of Qing Dynasty pith paintings depict the entire process of tea cultivation and transport. In the mid-19th century, tea was shipped by waterway from the south and upon arrival in Tianjin was either loaded onto seagoing vessels or onto camel caravans. This practice is also recorded in customs archives. In 1861, the first modern customs office in China was established in Tianjin. The surviving records, including customs documents and trade certificates, are fully preserved in the Tianjin Municipal Archives. This 1914 letter provided European market intelligence for merchants shipping tea from Tianjin. With routes across the Indian and Atlantic Oceans often obstructed, transport to Europe was difficult. Only the Great Siberian Railway offered a safe and reliable passage, carrying Chinese tea all the way to Europe. Through the opening of this railway, Tianjin's sea freight routes directly connected to Vladivostok, its easternmost terminus.
万里茶道上的茶叶、丝绸等商品运到天津后，能够转运到东北、北京，甚至出口到蒙古、俄罗斯等国家。更多的国际贸易各种活动在这里展开。
By this time, Tianjin had become a hub on the Great Tea Route, attracting numerous tea merchants to open shops in Jugan Lane and Beidaguan on the south bank of the Grand Canal in Tianjin. Among them was the Mu family, which later rose to prominence as one of the 8 great families of Tianjin. With Tianjin's important economic and trade position, the renowned Zhejiang merchant Mu Wenying established the Zhengxingde tea shop, which gradually gained fame throughout northern China.
福建是产茶的地方嘛，有自己的茶山。南方呢，他是坐海轮过来的，到塘沽，再坐内陆船，就到海河嘛。当时邮寄这个方面，天津也是很发达的。那郑兴德鼎盛时期，他已经有对外业务了。
From the advance of caravans to 1,000-kilometer voyages, Chinese tea found new ways to spread its charm, like a thread carrying the Eastern wisdom of harmony in diversity. On the 15th day of the 6th lunar month, Cham dance is performed in temples across Mongolia. Along with the prosperity of tea ceremonies, this dance, which originated in Xidang as a prayer for good weather, gradually became a part of Mongolian culture. "70-year-old Oyunbeleg Zundui is a renowned architectural historian in Mongolia. The Bogd Khan Palace was renovated in 2006 through the joint efforts of her and a Chinese cultural heritage preservation team in 2006. More than 100 years ago, the Qing court built a palace for a Mongolian religious leader on the Great Tea Route. To the east of Bogd Khan Palace stands another Chinese-style temple, Dolma Ling Nunnery, which was once dedicated to Guan Yu. It featured stone steps carved with Taoist gourd symbols, stone pillars with intricate coiled dragons, and traditional 5 blessings motifs, conveying the philosophies of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism.
Энэ барилгын хүүхд тоосгон хаана энэ ваарн энэ хүүх ваарн дээвэр гэж чинь бүгд хятадаас орж иж хятадаас яаж хийхин сурж те энэ тоосгыг бааюунд яаж шатаах юм хамтарч хийж дандаа сурал. Тэгээд манайхан чинь дандаа модоор ингэ дээвэрлж модон хантай байсан бол энэ тоосгон хан тоос ийм ваарн дээвэр орж ирсэн. Энэ төр байдаг. Тэгэхээр яг тэгээд энэ нөгөө энэ чинь нөгөө мэрэг төлөг хийдэг нөгөө савхаар ингээд хүмүүсийг мэргэлдэг байсан байгаа.
The patterns on the teaware quietly blended as well. Blue and white porcelain introduced to the grasslands during the Yuan dynasty saw its dragon motifs evolve. By the Qing dynasty, horns had grown thicker and shorter, while the clouds entwining their bodies had turned into scrolls, symbols of protection for the grasslands. Interwoven with one another, the dragon became a common cultural totem. For 300 years, ideas about tea and the world hardly changed. Narantuya, through visiting Tianjin, gained a deeper understanding of the ancient tea leaf.
茶在中国自古就是用来解决四海冰封的。我相信，随着万里茶道的打造，促进文化融亲相亲。
Just as Chinese tea culture emphasizes equality, respecting each other with courtesy, harmonizing fire and water, pursuing harmony to go far, it resonates with the world, travels through history, and echoes across thousands of kilometers.